So one of the first times I remember, because we weren't, Dad never like took us aside and said, "Hey guys, wrestling is predetermined and it's a work," and he
We just
never.
sort of figured it out on our own,
Right, yeah, but I
which I think
mean,
was what most of us did, except Looney Poffo, but he was a genius.
yeah, there was never like I think I've even been
Didn't
asked.
have to tell you.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I've been asked before. Like people are like, "Did your dad tell you it was whatever planned or
Well, when
whatever?"
Brody's sleeping on the couch, when you're in a hot program with him, I think it kind of answers its own questions.
So, so just so, anyways, the story. So, Cowboy Tony Falk.
A fighter and a lover and a hell of a man.
So we were Dad. World class was at the Mesquite Rodeo Arena.
Needed a house.
And
That's a crowd.
It was one of the things to draw the crowd was Cowboy Tony. You might have to help me on this. He was going to ride a bull.
Yes.
If he lost the match or something.
No, he was going to ride a bull because he's a hell of a man.
So that was it. He was.
From what I remember, he was going to ride a bull. The bull's name was Sledgehammer.
Right. Okay. So I was thinking like if he lost a match or something like that, he had to end up.
I can't remember if that was it, but I think he'd have done it anyway.
Right. So, anyways, he goes to get on the bull. So they're so
Eric Embry and Frankie Lancaster accompanying him to the ring, trying to talk him out of it.
Right. So time comes for Cowboy Tony to get on the bull.
Because we always had bull riding at the Mesquite Rodeo Arena because the great Don Gay and his father owned the rodeo arena, and they really liked having wrestling.
Right. Right. So Cowboy Tony gets on the bull. He's in the chute or the stall.
He works mounting the bull.
Right. So the thing is,
he's not really going to ride the bull.
He never actually rides the bull because he's getting ready to ride it.
He got injured.
And then the story goes that Cowboy Tony, the bull smashed.
Because the bull kicked.
Yeah, smashed. But yeah, I know. But
Tony gave the bull the office and the bull's
I know, but the thing the whole time was, it's not like, oh, the bull kicked and he's really, they knew the whole time that Cowboy Tony was not going to ride the bull.
I didn't know. I thought for sure he
would. But what I'm saying is they knew the whole thing was his Cowboy Tony was going to...
That was going to draw the house because people thought that Tony was going to ride a bull.
Right, but I'm saying Cowboy Tony was... The whole thing was, let's put it this way. Dad told Tony, you get on the bull, because Dad was the booker, you get on the bull, and you're going to just say...
the bull up, though.
Huh?
He didn't smarten the bull up, though.
You're going to say the bull smashes your ankle, and you're going to get off the bull.
Which is believable, because they fucking kick like that all the time.
I'm trying to say that's what...
YouTube it, people. It's there.
I know, but okay, so that's what...
That's why he was unable to. He was injured. Right.
So he really didn't smash his ankles. What I'm trying to get.
No,
he was working.
Yes.
Okay, so now, fast forward like 20 minutes.
Yes.
So Cowboy Tony comes back to the dressing room.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there talking with Cowboy Tony. I'm 7 years old, 8 years old, something like that, and he's just sitting there. He's not holding his ankle at all. This is getting back to this is when I was first thinking man, something's up with this pro wrestling stuff. I don't think it's completely real. So so anyways, so I'm sitting there talking to him and we're, talking about school, what am I doing in school, blah, blah, blah. And I'm noticing, I'm like, his ankle doesn't look like it's hurt. He was a super nice guy. And so this lady comes in the dressing room, just sticks her head in the dressing room. I don't know if she was someone that wasn't
probably a girl bringing Tony food or something.
Well, it was someone that was not smartened up, as they used to say. And immediately,
like most of the office staff now.
Yeah, when she sticks her head in the door, Tony puts his ankle up on his lap and grabs it and starts selling it.
Like he's in pain. Like Bob Orton.
So I'm thinking, and then, then she's like, Tony, do you need some ice or something for your ankle? He's like, yes, ice, please, ice. And then she leaves, and Tony just, he's like selling, and then she leaves. He puts his ankle back down on the floor and turns to me. He's like, so, what are you doing? How's school going?
Because he knew that you knew. Or he thought you knew. Apparently you didn't.
Right. So my point is, the lady comes in, he starts selling his ankle, the lady leaves, and then he quits selling his ankle. So anyways, I was just trying to say, that was one of the first times I was like, man, something's up with this pro wrestling. I don't think it's completely real.
It's like when after Gino smashed the windshield of the
Mhm.
Lincoln at the back of Texas Stadium, I walk by Chris, Gino, Kevin, and Kerry, and Gino's hand is bleeding, and Kevin and Kerry are like, "Damn, Gino, are you okay, dude?" And I'm
Yeah.
just standing there right behind him. They knew that I knew, so they didn't think. And it's
Yes.
like that same night, Ricky had worked the thing with Kevin, and I'm sitting between Rick and Fritz Von Erich, and Ricky's got his ankle up like that, and he's got sitting there like this just in case anybody walks in. But they know that I know.
Yeah. See, I didn't. I thought I was kind of confused. I was like, okay, his ankle's hurt.
So was that bull. He didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
I think that same night that Tony rode the bull and would have rode the bull had he not hurt his ankle. Brian Adidas, I think, was working with Kevin. I think he was in a cage or something. And Brian powdered, that means he left the ring, and went up the aisle back through the people into the small dressing room, because at the Mesquite Rodeo Arena, guys didn't dress together. Heels are on this side, baby faces on this side, because there was no cover.
Right.
So Brian ends up going into the dressing room where you're sitting in that dressing room. And Al Perez is back there too. Kevin was still really fast, even though he had bad knees from football. He runs all the way back from the ring to the dressing room. And then, bam, kicks in the door. And I'm standing on the little podium, the bull chute, and I'm like, oh, Chad's in there. I wonder if he sees. I'm thinking to myself, oh, no, there's a monitor back there. He probably can. Kev kicks in the door and...
No, yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, I remember watching the monitor, and I guess Kevin was wrestling Brian Adidas.
Yeah, in a cage.
Yeah. So, but he came out. So I think Al went out and interfered in the match.
Yeah, because he drug Al out later because Al was back there.
Yeah. So
that's who that program was with.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I just remember Al standing in the dressing room, and we're watching the monitor, and we're watching the monitor, and Kevin's like running to the dressing room where I'm sitting.
Like a bullet.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow, man, he's about to kick the door in. It's like really exciting.
You realize that's that door right there?
Yeah, I was like, it's that door right there that I'm looking at. And yeah, I remember just kicks the door in, man. And Al has his back to the door. Just the door just whacks Al's back. And, it was a pretty good run from the ring to the dressing room. And I remember Kevin, kicks the door, hits Al, door closes. So Kevin and Al, Kevin's in the dressing room now. The door's shut. And Kevin goes, I got to get my breath. And Dad's just like, go. So, yeah, it was pretty exciting. I don't know if that kind of translates into a cool story out there, but it was neat.
And in that same dressing room earlier in the evening, Dad, back then, if you were the booker, not only did you line out the matches, but you also would, if you had experience, would be in communication with the truck, the camera crew, telling them what shots you wanted to get. So sometimes if a booker was watching and there was something he really wanted to make sure he got across, then you would like say a couple of shots of this, a couple of shots of that. I think Matt Bourne was out there. I think he was working with Ted Arcidi. And Tony Bourne, Matt's father, was out at the ring. And on the control set, a couple of shots of Tough Tony, please. Get a few shots of Tony. And something happened to where it didn't work.
What didn't work?
They didn't get a shot, or the finish didn't go the right way. And Dad is about to lose all of his motor skills. He's about to go on a tirade. And he's like much like I am when we do some of these videos. And Al Perez is standing right behind Dad. And Al looks at me, and Al just starts pointing at the door, telling me, all right, Jay, it's time to go. And then as soon as I see that, I make a beeline for it, because Dad was easy to work for as a booker, and he wasn't a control freak, but if there was something that didn't go right, I'd be like, how hard is this to do?
Yeah. So, I don't know if that was the same night, but I remember it was at Mesquite Road Arena, but I do remember Dad was booking again. So it was, I don't know how many times they ran it when Dad was booking, 2 or 3 times. But Dad, I was just wandering around, and I walked up to, it was, I think maybe it was a different night, but Dad.
We were in that building a lot that summer.
Yeah.
Because it drew, and it was less, it was actually, it's built as AC, but it's like a breezeway because there's really nothing but the wind.
Yeah. Yeah. And still kind of talking about kayfabe, even a little bit, Dad, I was just walking around, and I walked outside, and I come across, and I don't know how they didn't think people were going to see him. It was Dad and Kevin and Al standing there probably going over the finish or something like that.
Okay, we just needed directions, I think.
And yeah, I remember I walked up on it, and Dad was so serious. He wasn't. He was just kind of like he thought I should just not be standing there. I don't know.
Because you might ask a stupid question.
No, but it just kind of like kayfabe was so
Yeah.
that was the way it was. But yeah, I remember just walking up on it was Dad, Kevin, and Al. I guess they were going over the finish or something, and but now looking back, it's like, how do you not think people could have seen you there?
Well, because the mindset was always they don't think about it's like if like guys talking back then, unless you know what to look for, it wouldn't dawn on you because like the way Dad looked at wrestling is like make it look as real as you can, and certain things you think they're picking up on, you're picking up on it because you think that they're picking up on it. It's like when I watch wrestling now, it's like I would think they would tell these guys to do something, but they don't know how to do it. So it's like just a totally different head trip.
Thinking of the Mesquite Rodeo Arena, what were your memories of Dingo? I don't ever remember meeting the Dingo.
That's the first time I ever remember actually meeting him.
I have no memory of meeting him.
He was in the back. He had just been here because the first time we were going to have him here, he had worked the TV before the 4th of July Spectacular in Reunion Arena. And he wasn't at Reunion.
Was it really spectacular?
Yeah, well, it's the last hot crowd we really had. And Mark Lawrence was giving the rundown for next Friday's matches at the Sportatorium because whenever you'd run the reunion, you'd give the rundown for the Sportatorium the next week because you didn't run the Sportatorium that week that you were in the reunion because they were too close.
Right.
Mark Lawrence saying something to the effect of, this Friday night in Dallas, don't miss Bruiser Brody, Gentleman Chris Adams, Maniac Matt Bourne, Kevin Von Erich, and the debut of Gary Hart's new acquisition, the Dingo Warrior. Somebody out in the crowd, what the hell's a dingo? Well, you found out. The first time I ever met him, I had seen him and Sting on Bill Watts' TV, the great Bill Watts, when it was Universal Wrestling. And I saw Sting and Dingo, he was Rock at the time and Sting was still Flash. And I saw him on TV. He was jacked. He looked like he stepped out of the side of a mountain, comfortable to carry. And Dad was managing him. So I went to meet him the first time in the dressing room of the Mesquite Rodeo Arena. And Dad said, Ding, this is my son, Jason. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And a few minutes later, I saw him. He was over there like this because the Mesquite Rodeo Arena, they had because basically it's a small dressing room because bull riders aren't that big and they tend to get messed up. So they had beds kind of like this, like you'd see in a doctor's office in case like a cowboy got thrown off a bull or hurt his ankle. They may be small, but they're as tough. Ain't nobody tougher than a cowboy except maybe a Samoan or maybe a Tongan. I'm not sure. And so Ding's right here like this, painting his face just like this. You're taking the deep breaths and making sure everything's really precise. And he's tying up the thing, the tassel he used to wear on his arm. Dad stole that from Ricky Morton. And I'm like, make a muscle. And he goes, bicep muscle. And this thing is like the size of like a bowling ball. And I touch on it. I was like, it's huge. And I said, can mine get that big one day? He goes, if you're extremely dedicated. And I was like, dynamite.
What about if when you said make a muscle, if he just would have turned and went,
I'm surprised he didn't clothesline me. But no, and then later that same night, there was more bull riding, not Cowboy Tony bull riding, but the bull started to kick and Dingo's up there. I jumped right behind him. Everybody else other said, I think he can probably handle the bull.
Yeah.
What's the bull going to do to him? He won't do any business for him.